First down and 10 for the 13. Back to Daniel Jackson at quarterback. Low snap, rolls to the right side, throws up the back leg, and it's picked off again. It's Nolan Ewing who trots down the far sideline, dives to the end zone. It's a touchdown. Nolan Ewing, his third pick of the day, goes for 6 points. Jack Mullen under center in flexible. Has the snap, 3-step drop, lobs it up, left side, Kevin Green, back in the end zone. He has it! Touchdown, Falcons! Arnold under center out of the flex bone. Gives out the Zach Dressler is here on the near side to the 30. Makes a cut in the middle to the 15, to the 10. Stumbling inside the 5, and he's hit to the end zone for a Falcon touchdown. What's going on, everyone? Voice of the Friends Falcons, Pat Strathman, here with another edition of the Friends Football Coaches Show from Walk-On Sports Bistreaux in Wichita. This is the place to be for game day, and boy, is game day in full swing for college football. The Friends Falcons are now 4-1 after a win over Tabor, 36-13. Friends wraps up the non-divisional play coming up this weekend at Sterling. We'll talk about that game. We'll recap this past weekend. But a reminder, come on out here to Walk-On Sports Bistreaux. This is the place to be to celebrate a win after the game. Maybe just to get some food beforehand. Whatever it might be, it's game day food with a southern twist. We appreciate Walk-On's Sports Bistreaux. For those that are listening, glad to have you here on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. For those that wonder, when do we do this thing? Coming out on Mondays at 5 o'clock. We're usually out here. No one has yet to take me up on the offer of coming out here and doing something funny to Coach Terry Harrison, but one of these days we'll get there. And Coach Harrison joins us, and also joining him is a senior B-back, Lakin Cloudis from Bartlesville, Oklahoma. We'll talk to Lakin about his big-time day this past weekend as well. Well, Coach, let's dive right in. 36-13 win over Tabor. Week before, you follow the Kansas Wesleyan. How does the team respond after the first loss? First quarter, no one scores. Couple interceptions for you guys. Couple of forced punts. And then you guys rip off a 16-play drive that kind of jump-started things. And from that point forward, you guys were able to create a little bit of separation at the half, leading 16-3. Then in the fourth quarter, you guys get a touchdown there, and you guys outscore them 20-7. The final quarter to win 36-13 to match your win total from 2022. Just your overall thoughts of what you saw against Tabor.
Yeah, just like you mentioned, really proud of the guys, after coming off of a, tough, hard-fought loss where it comes down to the wire and, very, very disappointing loss against Kansas Wesleyan on the road. It was our first opportunity to deal with failure. And so I thought our guys did a fantastic job of that. And then Tabor, very unique team and kind of how they do some things. In regards to that, just didn't have it didn't feel like a great rhythm to the game. And then when you start out, we were taking some shots and had some very bizarre turnovers, which, weren't player mistakes necessarily, just bizarre, and things you don't see happen, especially back-to-back drives, the way it kind of worked out. Just started off with a rough rhythm, but it was awesome to see our guys kind of weather that storm, settle in. I felt like our guys were the better team, and it just took a little bit of time to get that rhythm going to where, obviously finished strong the way they did. And so I thought, man, they did a fantastic job as far as handling that early, that storm or whatever you want to call it, the bad plays that happened. But I think they, did an awesome job responding, and that's kind of been what they've done all year long. So it shouldn't be surprised, but it was definitely cool to see, especially coming off of our first loss.
Well, the two picks, one of them was just ripped out of the arms of a guy who had the ball, and then the second one probably shouldn't have counted, as there was a defensive lineman that came off sides. Keegan Martin snapped the ball. I was looking for a flag. Nothing was there. Would have been a first down, but nonetheless, you guys were able to adjust from that. But you guys were now perhaps the biggest play of the game, and it's weird to say that because it was so early on, but it's a 3rd and 18. And Cavante Baker finds Elias Pino, and you're thinking, all right, you'll probably get about 10 yards and then punt. That's probably what you're thinking. Elias stayed in bounds, found a way to spin off some dudes, and he gets 20 on a 3rd and 18, and that was part of a 16-play drive that saw a touchdown. That, to me, would have been the play of the game on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, our guys, I don't know. I know we were at the tops in the country in 3rd down. We've got to be somewhere in there. I mean, and even in the conference for sure, but even nationally speaking, I mean, our 3rd down percentage has been unbelievable, and that does. I mean, it speaks to the players and their football savvy, being aware of down and distances. I mean, then getting them in a position to convert, and so that was definitely a big one, and that's hard to do. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do; it is hard to convert 3rd down and 18 or 3rd down and 20 or whatever, and we've done that a lot this year. So again, maybe we shouldn't be surprised. It'd be nice not to be in that scenario, which we'll blame all on coaching. That's all my fault. But no, that was very cool, and the fact broke some tackles to make that happen. It was just undeniable to get that, and it does. Plays like that do change the game, and it kind of sparks things, gets things going, and then we were able to kind of get back to business as usual. Outside of that long down and distance for sure.
I tell you, everyone, when it's 3rd and 18 and you talk flexbone, people go, "How on earth do you get 18 yards out of flexbone offense?" Well, you found a way to do it on Saturday. And I think the same question goes, how do you get points on the board when you only have 48 seconds on the scoreboard with a flexbone offense? You guys are down, or excuse me, you guys are up 13-3, and you're thinking, all right, let's see what you can do. You have a couple timeouts in your back pocket, but things have to go the right way, and you found a way to get a field goal with Cole Thompson. You probably could have rolled the dice and went one more play if you truly wanted to, but you decided to go with a 38-yard field goal, and Cole Thompson, boy, he was money from 38. That thing could have been good from 50 because he had himself, quite the day coming on the field and taking things over. But that to me at the very end of the first half, you go from being up 10 to all of a sudden being up by 13. I know it's weird because it doesn't change anything. It's still a 2-possession ball game regardless. But to get that type of field goal at the very end and to know that you can do it in 30 seconds, what does that do to an offense going forward?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So many people don't understand completely how we operate offensively. So it's awesome to get in that scenario because, like you mentioned, it's still a 2-score game regardless. But I mean that was opportunity for us to practice in that scenario, and who knows, that might be the 4th quarter of a game in divisional play where we have to do that. And now these guys have been there and done that, and so that's what's encouraging and awesome for our kids because they get that experience. And so I talked to the guys on Sunday. I think honestly, we've obviously had some flaws this year and things. You always have things to work on, but I think we've done a fantastic job of managing situations as a staff and as a program overall. So to have those timeouts, to be able to run your normal offense and get chunk plays, knowing really the goal is to get down there and to have an opportunity to kick a field goal. If you score, that's cool, but you're not necessarily expecting that. And really, the end of the game, at the end of the Kansas Wesleyan game, the way we managed that there, and we got ourselves an opportunity to win. Well, it's no different than what we just did in managing that situation. I mean, then even later on in the game, which we'll get to, but managing the onside kick situation. I mean, having our hands team out there with an ability to return. Man, our guy, I think it speaks to our practices we've had, the intentionality of our players and our coaching staff. We have done a very good job, looking back at it, and really it's just that I'm proud of. We've really managed situations well. And so right there, we moved down the field. We used timeouts to get some chunk plays. Ran a sprint out pass to get us into field goal range initially. And then the worst part, wish we would have had more time. It was 3rd down. We had to use our timeouts because we thought if we could have converted one more first down, we wouldn't have had to do that. But it was kind of like if you run that play, you can't clock it. Can you get your field goal team on fast enough? And so we just decided, Coach Kemp was on the field, hey, let's just kick it here with a little bit extra time as opposed to trying to take one shot. And so, it paid off, and it was an awesome deal to get points there at the end of the half.
No doubt. Coach Terry Harrison with the Friends football team. Lake and Cloud is here as well on this Friends football show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. All right, Lakin, let's talk to you now. So you led the team in rushing with 126 yards on Saturday. You and Zach Dressler kind of splitting reps there at the B-back position. Last year, you were an A-back. Year before that, you were just a pure running back, so you've kind of gone through the ringer a little bit. But to get 126 yards there on Saturday, how'd that feel to rush for 126 on homecoming night?
Well, it felt great. I mean, I haven't ran for that many yards in several years, so it kind of felt good to get over 100.
Yeah, for sure, and you did, and I'm sure you'll probably give a lot of credit to the offensive line up front. But when you and Zach kind of go in and out like that, what's that like, splitting reps with Zach and knowing that, hey, if he's on the field, he can probably get 10 yards. If you're on the field, I could get 10 yards. What's that relationship like between you and Zach?
I mean, it's awesome. Coming into B-back, Zach was there for me. I mean, he basically taught me everything I know, so you can give all the credit to Zach. I mean, we were in his dorm rooms watching games from last year, going over stuff, and I mean, it's B-back's simple, so you're basically just reading someone, and you're either sinking or you're sliding. So Zach taught me a lot about that.
Sinking or sliding, nice and easy like that. What was your reaction to going from A-back to B-back in the spring? What was the conversation like with Coach Terry Harrison when he said, you know what, I'm gonna put you here in this position rather than being in the previous year?
Well, Coach Harrison said, I knew you were always a B-back. I told Coach Kelly that you should never be an A-back. You were going to be a better B-back. And so I was kind of optimistic, like, hey, maybe I am better at B-back.
Well, I think
it was more of a statement of, hey, you're doing this, so prepare yourself for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that type of thing. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, last year, you battled a little bit of health issues. So this year, how's the body feeling at this point?
I mean, it's feeling great. With me and Zach switching off, we get done with games and we both look at each other and we're like, well, we could go way more. I mean, we're not getting tired, so we can just roll in there fresh and run the ball for 15 yards every single play, and it's great.
Yeah. Well, Coach, what's that like having Lakin and Zach together? Because I know last year Zach was so great and deserves all the accolades of running for over 1,200 yards, but as you have stressed before, balance is such a big thing. Probably none bigger than that B-back spot because the quarterback, Cavante's he's involved in every play. To be honest, the B-back is involved, probably the second most involved player in the Flexbone offense because, as Zach's put it nicely last year, you sign up for 1,000 car crashes every single game. Well, when you do that one player, you can get worn down in a hurry.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We've had some very good players over the years that have played that B-back position, and we've had a quarterback in the past be the conference player of the year, and we've had a B-back be the offensive player of the year in the conference. And so it speaks to the importance of those positions, number one, but we've never had two that, they're not the same player. They both have, whatever, but they're both highly effective and phenomenal players that can score anytime they touch the ball. So we've never had two like that. We've always had to, when there's one on the field who may be the better one, and then you run a guy on and you're almost trying to make it work to give that guy a rest. And so we've known as a staff, it's been our goal to be deep enough at that position to where there's no, when you run another guy on, you don't let off or, there's no drop. And so I think it's the most dynamic two we've had together at one time. And so I think it puts even more pressure on the defense. And it makes it even tougher to defend. And it's nice as a coach. You don't have to call plays around that. We don't. We see how the defense lines up and we call plays. We don't have to worry about who's in the backfield and trying to call plays around that because then that's where you're getting jams and maybe you can get a little bit predictable. And so those guys have done great job of that. And it's been cool. They. Anytime you're splitting reps, there's always this fear of ego or jealousy or whatever, and those guys have not done that at all. They've been studs about everything they do. They've both been really talented players. Lakin's been conference player of the week before as a running back position, and now splitting reps. And Dressler obviously led the conference in rushing last year. So to see those guys handle it, it's a great example for our entire team, our entire program. That hey, if those two can handle it like that, and you have to rotate it D-line or corner or whatever it is, hey, let's handle that like those two guys. And so that's been very cool to see, and it's awesome to have them both carrying the ball for us.
Well, there's one thing that Lakin's always going to have. At least I brought this up. I always bring it up because Lakin, it's one of my favorite stats in the conference. Because as a play-by-play man, you do some digging and you try to do research. And I'll never forget, there was one year where Terry Harrison was at Bethel College. There was only one 100-yard rusher that they allowed, and that was to Lakin Cloudis. Yep. So just saying, you got that over Coach Harrison. I'm just saying that I'll never forget that stat because it's always a fun one. I don't care if it's garbage time or whatever. I'm just looking at the final numbers. I'm like, Lakin can boast that. That's the type of thing that you can go out there and pound your chest and go, hey man, I was the only one to get 100 rushing yards on this dude. So that's a tough thing.
Yeah, he's a stud. We knew that. We obviously was coaching against him, and then coming here, we knew he was here, and he was a guy that we were excited to coach, and definitely, he's lived up to every bit of that, and even been a better teammate, better leader, all those things, hard worker, 100% guy as far as attendance to everything. So he's been he's been great, and he's one of those guys you coach against. You're like, man, he'd be a great. You watch guys like he'd be great at what we do. And so then we're just fortunate enough we got the opportunity to coach him, and he was tough enough to stick it out, and it's cool to see it pay off for him.
Let's go with that there, Lakin. What was it like? You could have made the decision to go somewhere else, but you said, no, I'm gonna stick around. So what was that initial moment like when you found out that Coach Terry Harrison was going to be the coach? What was the first interaction like, and what really sold you on staying here at Friends University?
Well, I think the first interaction we had, was it the meeting in the weight room?
Mm-hmm.
I think after that meeting I was kind of, I guess, afraid a little bit.
Because
I felt like that meeting went great. Clearly it did not.
Do?
This is the second time we've heard that meeting. I thought it went fantastic and it was very positive, but clearly not. So.
Yeah,
continue.
I mean, he basically just came in there and told us how it was going to be. So hearing that, it was kind of nerve-wracking, but I knew I could, handle the pressure. I knew I could be successful staying. So
yeah, okay. And then you're like, all right, flex bone. You're like, I can see myself in that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And now that I'm at B-back, I mean, all I got to do is take a handoff.
So he's saying I was right all along.
Yeah, it's exactly
no
what
big
he's
deal
saying.
for the radio audience, but yeah, he's been a big all along.
So what? You're Mr. Intimidating guy over here?
I
see you after games talking to recruits, and I'm like, there's no way this guy's going to yell at you. It's impossible.
Yeah, well, we mean what we say, and we say what we mean, and sometimes I think that can be intimidating to kids because we live in a world where people don't follow through on expectations, and we certainly are a program that does that, and so I think that can be when maybe that hasn't been in place. I think that can be scary or intimidating or whatever, but yeah, clearly I could have done a better job in that opening meeting, but
oh no, it was great.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Hopefully we lived up to some of that. Some of that is it's always fun. New jobs are hard, and you don't want to, especially within the conference. If I remember the meeting correctly, I was trying not to refer to where we had been because it was like, look, I don't want to do that. Yeah. So it was all about where we were headed. That if I remember that right, I don't know if that's true or not, but my memory of that was it was all. I didn't want to speak to anything in the past. It was all about, hey, this is what we're going to do and where we're headed. And so clearly it was a passionate day, and we were letting them know this is what it was going to be. So
yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, Lakin, here you are. 4 wins last year, now 4 wins already this year with still plenty of season left. What's it been like to see the switch here in Wichita, to stick around and still be a part of it?
I mean, it's been great. I mean, like you said, we had 4 wins last year, and now we already matched that week 5. So I think it's going great. I think that just shows how much work we put in during the summer and during July camp and all that. And I think it's really starting to pay off. Yeah, lots of work for sure. Lakin Cloud is Terry Harrison here on the Friends Football Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. The Falcons are 4-1, getting a win against Tabor on homecoming night, 36-13. Still recapping that game, but also having a little bit of fun with Lakin and Coach Harrison here as they get ready for another game coming up this weekend against the Sterling College Warriors. What was it like to have that crowd there, Coach Harrison? Because I was talking to Rob Ramsire about this on ESPN Wichita on Monday, and I told Rob, I'm like, I was looking left and right, and the president, Dr. Amy Brad-Carey, was up there too. And I'm looking left and right trying to find all these different pockets. And if you look in the conference and you're looking at seating-wise, I don't know where the rankings are. I don't know what they're like. I don't know where Adair Austin Stadium falls on that list. But I do know that when you make the trek up to the press box, it takes a long time and you're out of breath. So I do know that there's a lot of space to fill. Yeah. And I'm looking left and right, and there is barely any space out there, which – to me, I think is just a remarkable feeling to kind of look at that from your perspective as well as Lakin's. Yeah,
I think anytime, there's 2 things you have to balance, whether that's for President Carey, Dr. Ramsire, or myself, or even our players to some extent. This idea of enjoying the moment and, enjoying every second we have together in this current team. And so what can we achieve this year as a team? What goals can we chase down? What milestones can we reach today or this season? So that's one thing, right? And to see it was packed. It's the most people I've seen in the stadium in my short time. The pregame tailgate, for all families.
Insane, by the way.
If you're not a part of that, which I think most are, but if you're not, you absolutely should be there to see our families connecting with each other, to see our players able to interact with their parents at those tailgates. You see hugs, you see high fives, you see fist bumps, you see kids out there playing inflatables and playing catch. There's been an alumni presence with, Waylon Chance and Deron Jacobs, who've really spearheaded our alumni group, and those are guys that played last year. They're investing back. To see that on a game day is it's amazing. It's awesome. Very proud of that, and that speaks to this team. And then the other side of that is this idea we talk to our kids about of what this could be. And so there's this enjoyment now, and I hope our guys are soaking it in and understand how special it is. And then there's this backside of you can still see, man, what this is impressive, this is awesome. We're so grateful for what we have. But then imagine, man, what could this be as we continue to grow this program? And so that's the two sides of it as the head coach and administratively or whatever you say. I'm sure they think those things because it's amazing. If you had, even in Lakin's short time here, if you would have told him that in 2019, 2020, whatever, 2021, whatever his first year, it's all runs
2020.
together. 2020.
It's 2020.
Yeah. If you would have said, hey, you're going to be 4-1, you just went toe-to-toe with K-Dub. The stands are going to be packed. That grass area is going to be full of tailgaters, and you guys are going to be knocking on the door of the winningest season in a decade. He would not have believed you. He would have told you you're crazy, and that's not possible. And so, at some level, now we want to strive for more. We don't want to settle, and all those things that we have to manage as a staff and as players. But that's when it can give you chill bumps a little bit to see those things happen. And so that's the two sides of that. The enjoyment now, very proud and so thankful for all the time and energy that's invested in the attendance to the games and the tailgate and all that good stuff. And then the idea of, think about it as a recruit, and they're a part of that. The recruiting families, if you see that, I think, man, we're just getting started, and that's the draw of Friends University. That's why it's an elite NEI football school, and I think the most elite NEI school in the conference, and I think probably has the most potential to achieve greater things than ever before than any school in the country, and that's why we came, and I hope that's why Lakin and these guys stayed, because they can see that too.
For sure. All right, well, a couple more left here because I know we're coming up on it because we got to ask Lakin some fun stuff. And let's be real. Jet Cheatham told us a story about how he got his name. Apparently, Judd not as cool, but whatever. It's still really neat to hear those stories. I just crack up with it. Kevontae Baker, KCAC Offensive Player of the Week, 4 total touchdowns. He threw for 96 yards, and he also ran for those 3 touchdowns, 104 yards on the ground. I know you said that you were looking forward to working with Kevontae after a loss because it's never happened before. Mm-hmm. Well, something tells me he was very intentional about things during practice this week. He's
doing a great job. I mean, he's as locked in as I've ever seen him. You could definitely tell, like for me on Saturday, I could see it in his face. He was in the moment. He was never too high, never too low. Had a frustrating interception, 2 interceptions in these weird scenarios, and he just came back and kept ripping it, did a great job. And then we had, Claude, that ball I looked caught, but regardless, but it had some weird deals. And then it was tough sledding there for him, and I guess they didn't want Kevontae to run the ball, so we had to get a little creative for that to happen. And so he did, man, phenomenal. He deserves that. And I know I mentioned in the article, but as much as you're proud of him on the field, just elite teammate and model teammate, and what a great example for the program.
Well, you brought up Claude. I don't think I was expecting an 85-yard kickoff return on an onside kick thought from you guys. Retreats back, picks it up, and oh, hey, there he goes. And I'm like, I know you were talking about his size. It's hard not to look at his size and not be attracted by that. He's got a little bit of shake and bake to him too, which for a freshman to show that in that scenario, I'm like, all right, I can see why Clyde slided to third. I can see why the coaching staff might like him just a little bit.
Yeah, dynamic football player, excellent teammate like all of our kids. But, that scenario of, we had the hands team on, but we had to go too deep because it was that weird timing of they could onside or pooch it over. And for him to scoop that thing up and then those guys to react and block for each other was very impressive. But it showed his athletic ability, and, he poses a problem when he's out at receiver, just like all our guys. That group, Pratt, KG, Caden Lee, and Claude, absolute studs, absolute warriors, absolute winners, and have been as impressive as any group on our team. And I'm so proud of those guys, and I enjoy watching those guys play, and we trust them completely. And so that's been very cool to see.
Flipping over to the defensive side real quick, I feel like we talked so much about offense that you have to look at the fact that the defense only gave up 1 touchdown in the game, which I know Tabor offensively, it's been a struggle over the years for the Blue Jays, but the one thing I do know is it's like a test in college where the professor tells you, hey, this is going to be on the exam, and then you get to the exam, and it's not that at all. I've been in that situation. Lakin, I hope you haven't been in that situation, but I know I was in that situation a long time ago, and that can be tricky. You got to learn on the fly and try to remember things, and sometimes that can be tough to do, but yet you guys were able to only give up 1 touchdown, and that was late in the game. Mm-hmm. And at one point, Tabor was 0 for 10 on third downs, and they finished 1 of 11 on third downs. So that's pretty substantial stuff there from the defense that is continuing to make strides.
Yeah, so proud of those guys. I think they're number 1 in the country in pass defense now, and so clearly Tabor decided they didn't want to test that part of our team, and so they wanted to get in a run the game contest, which was, we'll do that any week, But anyway, that being said, no, they did awesome. I felt like they had a great week of practice. Those guys are getting better and better, and that is an inexperienced group at some level. If you looked at overall playing experience, and so they've done an awesome job of getting better. Very proud of those guys, and so talk to situational football. They did a great job. We turned it over once in a weird spot. They forced a field goal. They had one run pop late, and they forced a field goal. And so that's how you have those games like that, to where you win a game the way they did. And so that's just more like you talked about our guy, or we talked about earlier. Those guys did very good in situations where they could have, they gave up one long run to been very easy to fold, but they stayed in there and kept fighting and forced a field goal, which is the only thing you can do that in that scenario. So yeah, they did great. Played excellent situational football. Kicked butt on third down, which we're very proud of, and it was fun to watch those guys have success.
All right, Lakin, you have any unique stories about how you were named or anything? Probably not, which is no big deal. And if you do, feel free to share it. But what's the most unique thing about Lakin Clouders that people might not know about?
I guess I would say I love taxes. That's about it.
What?
Yeah, most people don't think that when they see me.
Look at these young guys.
I'm an accountant, and
what?
I like doing taxes. Yeah.
I don't think he likes paying them. I think he likes preparing.
So,
yeah, I like preparing.
Yeah, well, no one likes the paying part.
No,
I mean, let's be real about that.
That's another episode. That's going to take that. We can't talk about that right now.
I feel like we need to get some sort of promotion on the bottom here to go with Walk On Sports
Taxation
Bistro.
is theft.
Taxes by Lakin Cloudus. We're on to something here. I don't know what it might be, but man, you like doing taxes. That is incredible. I think that I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before.
Yeah, well, I think that's the most unique thing about myself. When I meet people and I tell them what I do, they are very surprised.
So you're obviously planning on being an accountant going forward.
Yes.
So that's good. Fantastic. You can do it here in Wichita or go down to Barnesville, Oklahoma?
No, I'm planning on staying here in Wichita.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So perfect. So we're in good shape.
Shout out to everyone listening. This is your guy when he graduates.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, too, we're going to get –
he's going to find every tax break. Guaranteed he will find every tax break that you can find.
Hopefully you're just not like Kevin from The Office, Kevin Malone. It's like, I'll do your taxes, federal and state, and no one wants to bid on it because they realize that Kevin Malone is not that good at taxes, which that makes sense. What were you going to say, Lakin?
I was like, hopefully it's not like that.
No, I hope so. I hope it's not like that. So taxes, man, that's incredible. How old are you? I feel like
I'm 21.
Were you like 55?
No, I just feel like taxes is something that really challenges you.
Okay.
And you have to. It's a challenge, and I love challenges. So.
Man.
And I love doing accounting. I think it's kind of satisfying to make things balance and stuff like that. So, you just add the taxes on top of it, and it makes it a challenge.
I don't know what else to say.
I coach football, so what I don't know what to say. Yeah,
I love coaching football.
I feel a little bit less.
I love broadcasting. Right, he loves coaching football, and Lakin loves taxes.
Let's go, man. Very impressive.
Welcome to the most unique trio.
Here we go.
And
he likes running the ball.
Yeah.
Let's go. That's all.
Running the ball and taxes.
Let's go. We need a T-shirt. We need that new T-shirt right there. Running the ball.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on the Flexbone T-shirt. By the way, I saw more people on Saturday wear it, and I'm like, golly, man, I need to get one of these bad boys. But anywho,
yeah, I love those shirts. Speaks to our program, man. When you have a whole community that embraces what you do, man, it sets you up for the success we're having. So very cool. Love
How many people saw you last episode and said, "Yay, that looks pretty darn good"?
Maybe so. Here we go. Our GAs have some ideas for some other ones, so we'll see. We might it might be like a spring goal to get some cool hoodies with some stuff like that on there. So.
Okay.
To be determined.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. All right, sounds good. Well, Coach, I guess we do got to talk a little bit one more thing about the upcoming opponent in Sterling. And I know the Warriors last year, it was a rough first season for Coach Jackson. He did bring back some guys from last year, but a very unique team. I think it's the best way to describe them because Well, I mean, let's be real. The entire conference has been rather unique this year based on if you're just a guy who looks at box scores and you dive deep into it, you're like, how did this happen? How did this happen? Sometimes it's a little bit unexplainable. But Sterling, if there's one thing I do know from my years of being in the conference, anytime you go to Sterling, you play on grass field, and I know everyone at the National Football League level is talking about turf and grass and this and that. Well, one thing I do know is when you go on grass rather than turf, it does change a little bit of things. So your thoughts on this week's game against Sterling?
Yeah, I mean, we're excited about it. I love playing there. I think I talked about that in the preseason media day. I played there, so it's kind of a little bit of a homecoming for me, kind of. We don't know as many people there anymore. We're excited to play them. They've had moments of really good football. So they've had some stretches of really good football, and then some stretches of not so great. So I'm assuming, I'm sure they're excited to play us. We were able to get the better of them last year, which was a good day for us at home last year, and so it'll be good for us to travel. And you never know, if for our program, and where we're headed and what we want to do, you never know when you're going to have to get on when we become a playoff team. Man, I hope it's this year, and if it's not, it's coming soon. You may have to get on a plane and go up to a Montana area and play on a grass field. There's still some up there, and so for us, we kind of look at it like that. Preparing ourselves for a future game where it might be a playoff game, might be something like that, where you play in a different environment, and so we kind of embrace that, and we're certainly excited to play him. And with the bye week coming up, Sterling will absolutely get our full attention this week, and I'm definitely excited, and one that I've been excited for this season for sure. All
right, Coach. Thank you so much for your time. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Same with you as well, Lakin. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Best of luck to you, man. All right, Lakin Cloudis, Terry Harrison here on the Friends Football Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. Friends 4-1 after a win over Tabor 36-13. Coming up, a game against Sterling this Saturday, and then a bye week, and then it's on to, I guess, the real fun, which is divisional play, Kessinger divisional play, which will be at Adair Austin Stadium with a very good Southwestern team. Get your tickets now because you don't want to miss that game against the Mound Builders. On behalf of Coach Terry Harrison and Lakin Cloudis, I'm Pat Strathman saying so long from Walk On Sports Bistreaux. We appreciate their support every single week. If you want to be a part of the show, coming out on Mondays at 5 o'clock. And as always, listening to it on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM Tuesdays at 6, or you can watch it on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again next week here on the Friends Football Coaches Show.